Okay, and we're recording. Yeah. Okay, so this is welcome to the Ghostathon number 2, second one because the first one some people couldn't make it. So this time a smaller audience. Lewis and Gabriel. Is that what you go by, Gabs?
Mm-hmm. Hello. Yes, Gabriel.
Hello. Okay, so just a quick introduction about our blogging history. Lewis, you can go, I guess, first.
So I run a medical education website that is based on WordPress, and I've been running that now for 9 years. And essentially it's how-to guides for medical students so they can learn how to examine patients and perform procedures. And I use just the standard WordPress setup with the posts forming these how-to guides and then the pages for about us and all that kind of stuff. And the website gets around 2 million views a month. From like an international audience of med students and other healthcare professionals.
Nice. And Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm looking to find out about blogging platforms and to use for my copywriting pursuits. And yeah, just keen to kind of get a better handle on what options that there are and yeah, and choose the right.
Yeah. And then I've been using Ghost for 2 years now. Prior to that, I hand coded my own quote unquote platform. And yeah, so that's me. Okay, so then we'll start with the Ghostathon then. I broke it up into 7 sections. Starting off with the beginnings of Ghost, going on to their business structure, other platforms that one can use, what's going on with Ghost today, tour the Ghost website and its various functionalities and such. Then I'll go into the Ghost platform itself and show you the UI, and then a bit about the future of Ghost as far as I know it. Okay, so let's bring up this first one here. Ghost was. It started off with John O'Nolan here. He started off setting up WordPress blogs for bands about 10 years or so ago. Eventually moving on to creating blogs for larger businesses such as Microsoft, Nokia, Virgin, and such. In time, he got involved with WordPress itself in an open source manner. And it was there that he became the deputy head of its user interface group, where he spent about 2 years. When he was there, he noticed that WordPress was diverging from blogging and starting to concentrate on such things as CMS, the e-commerce end of things, and not focusing on advancing its blogging capabilities. So he started to wonder what WordPress would look like if it was simpler and focused solely on journalism and publishing. He kind of pushed the idea away as he thought it was just too obvious. You know, if it was as interesting as he thought, it would have been done by then. But it kept nagging away at him. So then he ended up publishing. He had a blog at the time, as well as his Twitter following was about 12,000 people back then. And so he just published a blog post just to get the idea out of his head, and he figured he would get a couple hundred views, but with it quickly shot to number 1 on Hacker News, and within 5 days he got 250,000 page views. So he kind of knew he was onto something, and he put out a message out to his followers and such, seeing if anybody wanted to help him developing this platform. And although he got a lot of comments that it was a great idea, nobody was really interested in assisting until an old friend of his, Hannah Wolf, got a hold of him. And not only that, but within 24 hours, she sent him a little mock-up of what Ghost would be. And so from there on in, Hannah became John's co-founder. And from there, one of the first decisions was that they wanted to create Ghost as a non-profit. From there on in, John decided to, they decided that, well, since it was going to be non-profit, they couldn't raise money from the venture capitalists, and they were going to have to go the crowdfunding route. So John spent about 2 or 3 months researching all the Kickstarter campaigns, seeing which ones worked, what aspects were good, what weren't, and such. And so 6 months after the blog post, they launched on Kickstarter. And while they're initially looking for about £25,000, they got that within the first 12 hours. And then over the 1 month period, they got nearly £200,000, at the time about $300,000 US. So it was a great success. And they also attracted such thing as venture capitalists, and they came to them wanting to invest in the platform, but on the condition that they change their business model to a profit-based one, the more conventional one. And they're really going with the hard sell. Apparently, this is your one chance. If you don't take our money, you're going to fail, and it's never going to work. So take it. And both Hannah and John were getting the hard sell, but they decided to stick to the guns, so to speak, and decided to stay with the nonprofit model. So 4 months after the Kickstarter campaign, they did their first launch. I think it was only to contributors first, and followed by after to the public. I think it was version 0.3. And then 2 months after that, they launched their product as a service, which is Ghost Pro, where you can host your blog with Ghost itself. I'll get to that shortly. So onto that business structure. If I pull up the right tab here. Ghost. This is the one. Go down a bit here. So as you could see, they're not exactly your Silicon Valley type. With the Ghost itself set up as a non-for-profit, their idea was that there would be nothing to sell to Google or Facebook. So it was the platform was created with no goal of getting rich or having a big exit, such as selling to Google or Facebook. There would be no severance packages, no dividends at the end of the year and such. And so rather than a mission of financial targets, it was a mission to be driven on values. This would be rather crucial, seeing how, as John put it, and as I think most of us would agree, the cornerstones of journalism are transparency and independence. So Ghost, being a nonprofit, would aid these goals. So as a result of their nonprofit status, they couldn't take investment money. And because of that, they couldn't grow very fast. So it would therefore be tough in the short term, but powerful in the longer term. Tough because they couldn't get that initial amount of money that they wanted to build in all the functions right away. But powerful in the longer term because then they would have control of the platform in the future, and they wouldn't have investors and such saying, no, you got to make this profit, you got to make X amount of dollars by this date, therefore change this, do this. So they would have control. They would have ultimate control over the platform itself and its direction. So there's then also the issue of how to make money when the software that you're releasing is open source, as Ghost is. So it's released for free with no copyright. So then their idea is what they call sustainable open source. And the idea here is that they have the Ghost Pro platform where they host blogs. You can, of course, run the platform on your own server or host it somewhere else. But they have Ghost Pro, and this generates revenue for the nonprofit foundation. From there, with more money, they're able to hire more developers to expand the software. After that, with more functionality, this attracts more users. Some of whom install the platform itself on their own hosting service, some of whom join up with Ghost Pro to pay them, and that again brings more money to the nonprofit. So this is what they call a virtuous circle, as you see here. So although it was a non-for-profit business, they actually hit profitability after 11 months, which is kind of outlier for a tech company. Apparently they would have hit profitability after 6 months, but they decided to hire a person or two, so they're delayed by a little bit. And you can see up here, their metrics are available publicly. So they've had steady growth since their inception. So as a result of all this, it's the users that influence the direction of the software and not shareholders. And so with a fair business model that is sustainable, the platform is there stable, and it won't disappear if funding dries up or if they decide to dissolve the foundation. The software will always be there, and you'll always have possession of it to do with whatever you want. Going on to other platforms. Let's see if I get the right tab again. Yes. In 2012, 2013, which is when Ghost came along, there are a couple of other platforms that emerged, Subtle and Medium. Before I get to those, the established platform on the scene at the time was WordPress, of course. In terms of blogging, if what you want to do is have a flexible platform that's also open source, that you can use by clicking on buttons, you don't necessarily have to know any code. It's workable, but perhaps a bit messy. Then WordPress might be good for you. One problem with WordPress is that it can be hackable, not so much because of the platform itself, but because of the necessity for plugins. And so if your plugins haven't been updated, or if there's a conflict or whatever be, it can mean that your publication or site can be broken into by hackers, or can crash. One website that I used to cross-post to, they updated WordPress itself, and because of a conflict with one of their plugins, the entire system crashed, and no matter how much they tried, they couldn't get it back. And then they were fortunate that their hosting company had a backup and a mirror, so they restored from backup from 3 weeks prior, so they lost a whole bunch of posts and stuff, but they were able to get it back. But this can happen with WordPress. And just a quick note, I just noticed a few days ago that a publication here that I'm going to be moving to Ghost for a colleague of mine, Think Tank. I was looking down at the very bottom. He hasn't touched it in several years, but I noticed down at the very bottom here, there's a link for a motivation to lose weight, if you can see that. So it's been a while that he's touched it, but also it just could be one of the plugins, whatever. But actually, so here we have Geeky Medics, which is what Lewis uses. But you know much more about WordPress, so maybe you can give us a few words about if what I said made sense, or...
Yeah, no, I think what you said made sense. So I started using WordPress in 2010. So WordPress wasn't hugely mature at that point, but it did have the plugin architecture that you talked about. So I think the plugins for WordPress, they're both one of WordPress' biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses. So as someone who wasn't very technically sophisticated, it was great for me because if I wanted to add, a fancy menu at the top, or the ability to add an image carousel into a post, that kind of stuff, I could just, search the plugin directory, find it, install it. I didn't really need to know how it worked. I just knew that, if I installed it, it did work. But like you said, the problem is the more plugins you have, these plugins often, after a while, the author of that plugin just kind of gets disinterested, I guess, and stops updating it, and it sits there and doesn't move forward, doesn't have security patches, and then eventually what usually happens is you either, in my case, I get kind of scared that maybe there is flaws there, and I end up looking for an alternative, which is really frustrating in the first place, or the other alternative is that the site can crash, and I've experienced that too, where I've had conflicts with plugins where suddenly the site is inaccessible just because of one specific plugin. So WordPress's advice whenever you've got site problems is to disable all plugins, because it is almost always a plugin problem rather than the actual platform itself. And to get Geeky Medics working, and even to this day, it relies on a lot of plugins on top of WordPress. And I think one of the big downsides of that is it slows the website down, because essentially you're running loads of apps on top of the web platform itself. So as a result, for any page to load, all of these apps have to spin up at the same time. So that can mean that it takes longer for that images to load. And certainly if someone's on a not a great connection, they can have a less than optimal experience. And I know that I can get emails from Google about page speed on the site saying that it's not great and then I need to improve it. But there's always a balance between having the functionality I want, and every time you add more functionality it does slow the page down, so there's always a bit of a tension there. So yeah, I waffled on a bit there about it, but I think it's a grey area that plugins are fantastic for people who aren't technically literate to be able to achieve things they wouldn't have been able to, because most people can't afford to pay a developer, and most people wouldn't even know what developer they need to do something. But as a result, there are quite a few drawbacks in terms of speed and security.
And before I met you, you did say that you actually heard of Ghost before you met me.
Yes.
And you're curious about it, which I guess we can get to a bit later.
Definitely.
Okay, so along with next to, in 2012, 2013, one of the other options that came along was Subtle. Nothing too much really came about it, so there's not too much need to say anything about it here. But the other platform was Medium. And Medium was started up by Ev Williams. He was the guy who co-founded Blogger, and that was then sold to Google for an undisclosed amount of money. After that, he then co-founded Twitter, and he was the CEO of that for a while. Following that, then he started up Medium with $174 million of venture capital. So about 600 times as much as what the Ghost team got by crowdfunding. From what I heard, Medium has a nice editor, although at the first Ghostathon, Ethan had tried it just a few days before and he said he really did not like the Medium editor. So take from that what you will. Medium is what you might call a social network. You follow people, you sign into Medium, you follow different writers and such, they follow you and such. Similar to Twitter. It's kind of like a glorified Twitter in a sense, whereas instead of putting up 140, 280 character posts, you put up blog posts. And your followers get notified of your blog post, possibly, as I'll mention shortly. But one downfall of this is that Medium owns the network. So the publisher is confined and they have little control over what happens with the platform. So far, to the point that there's been times when I've read a blog post, I bookmarked it, I come back later, and it's been deleted, and I have to go to like archive.org to find a cached copy, because if for whatever reason if Medium doesn't like what you put up there, they can just get rid of it. Perhaps Medium's biggest selling point, particularly in the starting, was that it had this network effect. That is that they would curate your posts to the general audience as well as to your followers. Things have changed, however, and whether it be due to new algorithms or, as Ethan mentioned a couple weeks ago, if your post doesn't really get traction in the first hour or two, it will not be curated. It won't reach that readership that posts used to. Publishers, bloggers who have followings in the thousands or even tens of thousands, whereas they used to get a lot of hits, they're finding that they're getting very, very little now compared to as they did years ago. In the meantime, Medium still doesn't have a sustainable business platform, and it still hasn't turned a profit in about 6 or 7 years. So they've been getting more aggressive with their policies, whereas you used to be able to use your own domain, you can't do that anymore. They've gone through 3 business models. So if a publishing company, decides to publish with Medium, and they dedicated their whole design to this particular model, Medium comes in and changes it around, and that throws your publication into chaos because you invested everything into whether it be advertising or paywall or whatever, and you're pretty much at the whims of what Medium decides to do and what their shareholders might say they have to do. As well, what Medium is really pushing is, it's not so much your brand that they push, it's the Medium brand that they push. And they push, join up Medium, pay X amount of dollars per month to become a member. I was mentioning to somebody, maybe it was Jess today, that if you have a blog or a publication on Medium and you put up your post and somebody reads it, there's a good chance that if somebody reads it, they'll see it and think, oh yeah, I read that good article on Medium. They wouldn't say, oh yeah, I read that good article on Gabriel's site or on Geeky Medics. It's Medium that would stick with you. So it's not your brand being pushed. You can't customize the platform besides maybe like your logo and maybe a few colors, but you're very limited with what you can do. So the latest idea, what Medium has been doing, is kind of like a walled garden featured articles. So you can see all these little stars here. The general public, if you aren't a paying Medium member, you're only allowed to read 3 featured articles per month. So if you have a blog here, there's a good chance that the public isn't going to be able to view your article. At the same time, Medium members, they can view as many, paying Medium members can view as many featured articles, but as I said before, Medium isn't quite curating the articles as they used to, so you lose the outside audience and you possibly lost the inside audience because of the way Medium's changed. So that's how Medium works now. So a lot of people, a lot of publications have been jumping off of Medium in droves. One of those would be a colleague of mine. This is his Medium blog here. I've been spending a bit of time here at Framework migrating his blog to Ghost. Actually, he put out a notice he wanted to move to WordPress. If you could have any help. I got a hold of him. I said, sure, I can help you, but if you move to Ghost, not WordPress. And so he liked what I had to say about Ghost. And one problem with Medium is that they're very hostile to their users. They don't make it easy to get off of Medium, whereas WordPress, you can just hit an export and such, and you're on your way. Medium make it very hard, and their export is very much gibberish. If you try and right-click and view the source, I would think that I could just copy the content like I've done with the WordPress blog, but it's like the digital vomit. It's really horrible, and so they're very hostile to their users. As far as I see it, just with the way the things are going with Medium, and I think you would concur, Lewis, we were talking this a while ago, that I can see Medium going the way of Tumblr, which, do you know what happened to Tumblr a month ago?
They were acquired by Automatic, which is WordPress.
The Tumblr were purchased in 2013 for $1.1 billion by Yahoo, and then they changed hands a few times, and then just a month ago, Automatic, who owns WordPress, bought Tumblr for $3 million, down from $1.1 billion. So I can almost see something similar happening to Medium, whereas WordPress envelops or just takes on their users because Medium has run out of venture capital money, or nobody wants to keep on throwing money down that money losing hole. So at the same time though, although Ghost is a very good platform, Ghost isn't necessarily for every user, and as should we bring up the proper one here? Ghost today. Ghost does mention on its website there are a few tabs that are comparisons: Ghost versus WordPress, Medium, and Tumblr, and they put up this. I think they put up this Tumblr page right when Tumblr changed its policies about a year or so ago, when they got rid of all the porn sites. And they were afraid that Tumblr users would come to Ghost, but they knew, Ghost is not what you want. So they're saying, so they had a comparison. They're just honest, like, you probably don't want to come to Ghost. It's, you're looking for a social network. Mastodon might be what you want. So, they don't try and push Ghost on people who probably wouldn't actually want to be using it. So Ghost today, as I said, it's an open source platform. You own and control the data. Which is pretty much, that's my bias. I would not want to be on a platform that was controlled by somebody else who I was essentially at the mercy of. That being said, Ghost has been focusing less on casual bloggers and more so on professional journalism. A few years ago, they did launch the Ghost for Journalism platform. They were trying to attract journalists and such. Nothing, that was in 2017, nothing has come up. They weren't quiet on this since. This is actually on an archive.org page. That being said, they do want to create a platform for journalists because, as we all know, publications, they have been hemorrhaging writers and staff, be it online or actual print papers. As things currently stand on the web, when we have revenue tied to clicks, that means that we get clickbait and you get poor info and such. So while Ghost would like to be a platform for journalism and such, I haven't seen too much of that as of yet. Came on the wrong tab, customers. So this is on the Ghost website as well. So whereas they would like to be a platform for journalists, John O'Neill has said they would like to attract, in the long term, like a CNN or a Guardian and such. Not my favorite online sites, but anyways, from what I've seen, be it on Twitter or other sites or other methods of advertisement, most of the Ghost blogs and such I've seen have been more like tech oriented, and I'm guessing that, Ghost has been doing little to no advertising since they started, and it's more been word of mouth like this. And so because it's a very they use a modern tech stack, they use Node.js instead of PHP for those who understand that stuff. I don't. So my guess is that it's been word of mouth from tech-oriented people to tech-oriented people. So the main, their feature blog that they show here on their customers page is Elon Musk's OpenAI. Following this, they have DuckDuckGo, DigitalOcean. This is the VPS, the hosting service that Ghost recommends and which Ghost Pro is ran on. Mozilla, which runs Firefox, the browser I'm using, Revolut, fintech company, skip this for a moment, TunnelBear, VPN, Coding Horror. This is the guy that that founded Stack Overflow, as well as the forum software Discourse, which Lewis used for Geeky Medics and which I use for comments for my blog, Code Academy, etc. So it's mostly tech sites. The one exception, or I think there's a smaller exception down here, simple. But the featured exception up here is the Stanford Review. But if you look at that, actually if we open a page here, if we open it up, you can see that its layout is, it looks very much like what a Medium blog looks like. Then if you look closer, you can see, they have these little green things around the author, and it's actually, if you look at a Medium blog, again, Medium pop-ups as usual. There's that. So, but if you look at the Ghost site, it does mention that multiple people on the Stanford Review team publish on Medium, but the newspaper has smartly built out its core on Ghost. Their one publication, the strongest one that feature is kind of a rip-off of Medium.
I saw they kind of mentioned Sky News on the other page.
On the front page?
At the top of this page, maybe, or maybe the previous page you were on. But I wonder if that's the case.
Actually, may go to
they talk about
on the homepage.
Yeah, Sky News. You see Zappos, Sky News.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether because that's a big in the UK. That's big.
British.
That's kind of like a CNN type thing. So I wonder if they use that would be a big win. Again, not my favorite news outlet, but it is big mainstream.
Or it could be something internal. Like I know Apple also uses Ghost, but only internal.
For like company internal communication. Okay, potentially,
So that was the customers. That's the customers. Then we'll move on to the Ghost website itself. Close this down. Okay, so we'll start off with the About page. A few photos of the Ghost team. I'll show you the metrics. So here we have the Ghost team. I showed this page to Lucy Jane. She was here at Framework a few weeks ago, and the first thing that she noticed was that it's a very good ratio of males to females. It was actually 1-to-1 until about a year ago. From this guy on, these next 8 people, August 2018. These have all been added, and this just happens to be more males here. And one female just did. She was a core member. She dropped out a couple months ago. So for the longest time, it was 1-to-1 males to females, which is quite rare in this field. Starting off with John and Hannah, but it's still a good mix. It's a small team, so small that I think so. They have right now 15 people. In early 2017, I noticed that Medium, they laid off some staff because they're changing their business structure. They laid off 45 people, which is like 3 times as much as what the entire Ghost team right now.
What do you need 45 people for, I wonder?
Yeah.
I think it was like advertising and stuff, and yeah. So they've developed a very good platform with like a very small team, as opposed to Medium. Well, I think WordPress has over 1,000 people. Yeah.
Automatic huge.
Tells you automatic, yeah. So a small team. It's a remote team, so they're based around the world. UK, Hungary, Australia, US, India, and then a few of them are, as I say, on a plane. So they're like the remote workers. As I showed you that first page with John O'Nolan's Twitter page, he has his nomad list thing where they list where they're traveling around, and they also meet up every 6 months because the one thing that they notice is that you never really if you all live remote and you never meet each other, then you can't really get to know each other, and so every 6 months they have like a 2-week sprint where they do things and meet up somewhere around the world. So they have their marketplace, and this is where they feature some themes that you can get. They separate, you can select blogs, magazine, photography, travel, etc. You can select either between free or paid. You can even submit your own theme to possibly be featured on this Ghost marketplace. So there's a whole bunch here. And Lewis, you were saying, well, they don't have too many. I think WordPress has thousands of themes that you can use. Yeah. Ghost, they have a few that they put up for free. The Casper theme comes out, is released for free. It is part of your Ghost install. The Casper one is down at the very bottom here. So this is Casper. So there's a few websites that sell Ghost themes. That's the one I use. Mostly the largest of those is ThemeForest, and they have like 150 compared to WordPress's thousands. But you were saying, Lewis, that you checked out the themes and you thought they were not too bad.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the just overall. They all seem really well polished. The quality bar is way better than WordPress. Although there's thousands of themes, there's a lot of rubbish.
Okay.
Whereas it seems that I don't know if they apply some kind of curation when they're accepting submissions, but it feels like this is curated. I don't know if there is
on the marketplace or on
ThemeForest. On the marketplace.
On the marketplace it is, yeah.
It's
and
curated,
they don't want if you submit something and it's pretty much like something else, then they won't. They want unique.
Okay, they want unique. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
And,
so I was
and
impressed.
clean.
And clean.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like magazine themes is what I've used for Geeky Medics. So,
yeah. Well, the one that I'm using Nubia here to move over my colleague's blog from Medium. It's a nice thing, very well built. And do
you need plugins for these themes and stuff, or is it all kind of? Is that what you were saying before about WordPress having to add all the plugins to make it functional?
They have integrations. That'll be the next tab. I guess so. It's good timing that you ask. So plugins, they did mention that they were going to go to plugins, or they're going to build up the functionality to use plugins, but they realized that they were kind of worried that they didn't want to end up with the same thing as WordPress, with all the problems. So they've been holding off. Do they build it so that if you update Ghost, then your old plugin, it automatically won't work, or do they have the same kind of system where you can update Ghost and please update your hopefully the creators of the plugins also updated, and so they just weren't really sure how to do it. So they haven't done. I'm not sure if they are going to, or if it's on the side burner for now. But this is what they've implemented since is integrations, and so there's a whole bunch here that you can choose from. So like I think the main one would be Zapier, so that if you put up a blog post and you want it to be sent automatically to your Facebook page or Twitter or LinkedIn, it'll do it automatically. Google Analytics, Slack, Unsplash, if you know of that one they've baked into the system. I'll show it to you shortly. And so that one is like a Flickr or such where you can
get free photos.
Yeah. So you can go straight in your blog itself. You can search through Unsplash to add a photo into, and there's just a whole bunch more. Likewise, though, but what Ghost does is the core functionalities that you need in Ghost, such as SEO, that's built into the system. So whatever should be in the system, it is there, because unlike WordPress, where you don't want, even though it is bloated and clunky from what I've seen, they don't put everything into the system. Whereas Ghost, because they're focused just on blogging, they're like, okay, well, what is the core things that you would need in blogging in a blogging system? So SEO is built into the system, whereas with WordPress you need Yoast. Is that the one?
Yeah, Yoast is the most popular. That's what I use. To like choose what the titles are and what the text is on Google that shows up when people search. Yeah.
So the core things are built in, and then the other ones, such as this here. There are, if there's certain things you want to build in, you can put in some JavaScript code, which I do. I don't know JavaScript, so I have somebody who I'll mention shortly, Vikas Patluri, who I found on the old Slack channel, and we've been working together. And because I don't know JavaScript, and I've really been doing a lot of technical stuff to my blog, without him, he's been a lifesaver. So I was very fortunate to be working with Vikas all this time. Over into the apps that they have. There's a Mac, Windows, Linux app that you can use, as well as an Android app. There is no iOS app, and it's because these here have been built by the open source community. And nobody has offered to build an iOS app at the time, so there's none available. Here is the Ghost app. So one advantage of the app is that if you have multiple blogs, you have this little side panel down here. So you have mine, one that I'm building for my colleague, a couple of others that I've spec things that my colleagues don't know about that I'm building for their sites. Another one, but that's top secret. It basically looks the exact same as the web-based platform. So with no iOS app, I guess one of the downsides of open source software is that a lot of people they feel as if they're entitled to software and things, and as opposed to that they participate and contribute. So you get a lot of people saying, "Oh, hey, how come you haven't put this in your platform? That other platform they've had it, and this is such a basic thing. Why don't you do it?" So they're very ungrateful. A lot of people in this area. So the dynamics around open source could be a lot better. The iOS, it's unfortunate, but the Ghost team, they have to concentrate on building the actual platform, not these little extra little side projects. You can see they do have a page here for the iOS app, but as you can see, there's nothing here. That's just the way it is. If you want an iOS app, then build it or have somebody else build it for you. Perhaps the Ghost team will get to it eventually, but I don't see that they would or that they should. And actually they do, John and Hannah often point to a very good article, what it feels like to be an open source maintainer, because you have everybody really they leave comments, "Hey, how come you haven't done this?" And their inboxes get flooded with expectations and complaints, a lot of complaints, and people just very ungrateful. It's a really good article. If open source is your thing, it's worth a read.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
It's the same with the free Medics website.
Yeah.
So people email, say, why haven't you got this? Why haven't
Really?
you got this? Yeah. And it's all free.
I'm just one man.
Yeah.
Yeah, one man. Yeah, it's the same thing. They're like a tiny team.
Yeah, people don't realise, I think, is the problem. They
Yeah.
they don't know the difference between
Yeah.
the big company and
Yeah. And it's for free, you know, like So next we have Ghost Pro, where you can host your blog with Ghost itself. So some people might say, holy shit, okay, so now it makes sense. They're putting it for free, but they're gouging us because they're charging $29 per month for hosting a small blog. That couldn't be further from the truth, though, because, at starting when Ghost first launched, yes, they were charging $5 per month for a blog. But as we just mentioned, a lot of people didn't value the product, and they noticed that lower price points result in lower quality customers who have very high support demands. So their resources would get exhausted, be it CPUs and memory and such, and also with their customer service, I imagine you get burnout with all these ungrateful customers. So they did try around playing with raising prices, and what they noticed that higher price points led to higher quality customers who didn't have as much need for support. So it was an easy decision. Do you have 6 customers paying $5 a month or 1 customer paying $30 per month who values the product? So they went that route. That being said, because it's open source software, you can install it on any server of your choosing. For example, they recommend DigitalOcean, which is where Ghost Pro hosts its servers, and there you can put up a blog for $5 a month. It does require you have to install it yourself and update it yourself. I've had VCast do it for me. I could probably do it myself, although I've never tried.
There's a good guide by DigitalOcean.
Yeah.
DigitalOcean is really good with creating these guides for people who have no clue.
And I think Hannah wrote one for.
Right, okay. Yeah. I've managed to follow them for similar things.
Oh yeah.
But there is a risk because you're sort of just typing in these commands that you're told to come out. You don't really understand what you're doing. So
Yeah.
I found someone who actually knows what they're doing to help me out, because once I just turned off the website at like 2 a.m. by accident. Didn't realise for like 3 days.
Oh damn.
So now the developer stops me touching it because they'll probably break it.
Yeah, and I guess you could go to the Ghost forum, which they use this Discourse for the forum to ask questions. But that can be an issue.
Yeah.
The other is Linode. That's what I currently use. Perhaps I'll move to Ghost Pro in the future. We'll see. What did I have here? Oh yeah, just a quick on the WordPress versus Ghost tab. As you were talking about, speed it could hamper on, or it could be detrimental.
Definitely.
Ghost can be 1,900% faster than WordPress.
Yeah.
And I guess there's probably a little space how much you can put up on there.
Sorry?
You can, in terms of space, like content, there's not really a limit to.
When you host with Ghost Pro?
Yeah, like it can take a lot of. Sorry, I don't know the technical lingo for it all, but there's no kind of like storage limit or anything.
I think their limits with Ghost, depending on the package, is how many views you get per month.
Okay.
Not
rather than what you upload.
Yeah. There are other sites that I've seen that you can get like $5 Ghost hosting per month, but I won't mention those here. You can ask me later if you want.
How can they affect how many views you get?
I guess they have their internal. It's like, so there is like Google Analytics and such, but I guess they have their own system functionality too.
You're essentially running your site on their servers with
They
Ghost
can
Pro, so they can
connections or something.
Yeah, I guess they probably would just email you and ask if you upgrade your plan. I imagine they probably don't want to cut you off.
With Ghost, what they do is they say that they never cut you off, especially if you go up to number 1 on Reddit or whatever be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when you want your blog to work.
Yeah.
So they say no, we won't cut you off at your most important time. But if we notice that you're going over your view hit per month if you're above for like 3 months in a row, then let's talk. but otherwise, they make sure that your site stays up. Anyway, so okay, let's go to the Ghost UI. Did I go through all these? DigitalOcean, that last one here. Oh yeah, it's just some of the tech stack, which I don't know too much, but Node.js versus PHP and such, and yeah.
I just know that it's newer.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's the cooler kid on the block.
It's like
PHP is like super old, and
it's server-side JavaScript. Is that? I don't know. Yeah. All right, so let's close this now, and then not that one just yet. Okay, so this is my blog.
Mm-hmm.
I use the theme Eston, which I purchased off of ThemeForce. I think it was like $24. It's on the lower end. You can see this is the vanilla version of Eston. Whereas not only did I change the sidebar, the side panel over to the other side, but I customized it with these logos and such here. My picture, I put in stuff about translations, a link to my Nomadlist page, search, subscribe, and I had Vcas write the JavaScript, and I did all the CSS for dark mode.
Oh, okay.
So that's custom made by me, a little scroll up button and such. That's not part of the theme, but so Eston would be, it's very fine to use as is, but if you want to add extra stuff, either you have to know some coding yourself or have somebody else do it. So when you go to the actual web interface, this is what you see, similar to the Ghost app. Right when you load it up, it comes with your site in the panel here. I'll start off, or actually, before I start off, I will mention that because John O'Nolan used to be the head of the user interface team at WordPress, so he's very much interested in the design of it and its ease of use, and the actual so they have a lot of attention to detail, and the actual meaning of the Ghost of the title or of the name Ghost is the idea that like a ghost, you can't really see it, and it kind of gets out of your way and it just lets you blog. So instead of when I had to input my cross-posted posts to that other blog I saw WordPress and it just seemed really clunky, and I just wanted to get in and out of there as fast as I could because it just looked horrible. But you, Lewis, were saying that
comparison of the dashboard in Geekumenics there, it's just compared to how you were on the posts page on there, can you click on there? It's just how it looks. I'm on posts, so it's just a lot cleaner, the whole look of it. That's what struck me about Ghost when I did a trial of it. Yeah, it's just a lot cleaner, a lot less noisy, and way faster as well. Just moving around in the dashboard in between posts is so much faster.
I can copy the.
It just seems more thoughtful, the design.
The non-dark mode.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that the guy who started it was user interface designer. So yeah. So that's where I have most of my envy at the moment. Is the dashboard. It looks like it'd be a lot nicer to work in.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with the general here. This is where you input the title and of your post, of your blog and such. Time zone, language. You put in the little icon here, that appears in the tabs. Your publication logo, you can see on my blog. This is not the logo. This is something an image that I put in myself. This is the logo that if your theme has been set up for, where you via the coding language handlebars, it'll access your logo that you've inputted into the system here. Your publication cover. Not too many people use that. I use that for upcoming posts. You can see that publication behind this here. This I actually grabbed from an open source theme that Ghost created. So I had Vcas help me putting this into the bottom of each post, previous, next post. As well, this bar here that lists the logo and the title of the post. This is with the, you can see that green bar starting to move now. That's also from another Ghost theme that I had Vcas help me put into my blog.
Like a progress bar.
Yeah, progress bar. So, and you cannot do that with Medium. You can do all these things with Medium. So if you really want your blog to suit you and such, and so following this, back to the. This is all brand new. I haven't looked at this site meta site. This came in like last week, so I'll have to look at this.
Nice.
Social accounts, so you can hook up your Twitter and Facebook profiles if you have those, and if your theme makes use of them. If you want to have your site private, either because it's in development or you only want your friends to read your post, whatever, then you flick that and you have a box with a password. The blogs that I'm currently developing, they're all behind a password. Design, this is for the navigation. You don't see anything on mine because mine, yes, there's a nav bar here, but I also have a second nav bar, which I kind of disabled right now. I have to put it back when I populate it, actually. So I do things manually versus the automatic function. But if you, with my colleague's blog that I'm putting together, you can see there's a nav bar here. You put in, you write what it's supposed to say and the link right here, and then you can shift them up and down and such. Just add a button here, and it just boom, it automatically adds something to your nav bar. Back here again, a few links to some marketplace curated themes. They'll link you to either GitHub or ThemeForest, whatever. Link to the marketplace, link to docs so that you can develop your own theme. And down here is where you select your theme. Casper, as I said, this is the default theme. You can't delete it, as you can't delete the other one. This is the active theme I have right now. And this is the plain version of Eston. If I want to just compare my custom created theme to the basic one, that I can just switch. You hit activate and it moves over in 2 seconds.
If you do end up changing themes, does it involve a lot of moving around into the new, does all your content easily kind of integrate into the next theme? Or?
I can show you. So here's my blog right now, right? And I just hit activate, boom, it's done. So I reload it. And so there it is. So I took out this stuff here. I added in that read more button. I moved things around. I have a bar down at the bottom. But I'm not going to leave this for 3 days, so I'll switch it right now. So activate. There you go.
That's cool that it keeps them up for you, so you can almost play around with different options and see which one you prefer, rather than kind of losing if you were to change, not being able to kind of compare to what it was. Yeah, that's cool.
Where was you?
Over here. No, over here.
That tends to cause a lot of problems on WordPress.
Oh yeah?
I'd say. Yeah. I think...
You can't just do it like with Ghost, just switch over?
No, because I think a lot of the themes on WordPress, they build like extra functionality that is specific to that theme only.
Oh, okay.
So then when you flip to other stuff, you
lose.
Yeah, you can lose potentially even content sometimes, and certainly like images, and just it can really mess.
They can break things.
Really reshuffle.
For sure,
Really?
yeah. So changing themes is like a massive.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I think it's particularly once you have a decent amount of content. Probably when you have like 2 posts, it's fine. You should be able to tweak it quickly. But
yeah.
So I'm terrified to change.
You just lose it.
Yeah.
Then we have code injection. So if you don't want to put the coding into hard code things into your theme, if you just want to do a quick change, you can input some coding here and you hit save, and then that will automatically change things throughout your entire blog. So if you decide one day, I want link underlines to be blue instead of red, you just drop that code in here, hit save, and you're done, rather than having to go into your code editor. I use brackets down here, and then you change that, you save it, you zip your theme, and upload it. Go back to the design. You would save it all in your zip file, and you upload a theme here via the zip file. So if you don't want to do that, or you don't really know what you're doing, and your developer says, here, just take these few lines of code, inject it into your code injection, and hit save, then you're fine. So it's kind of like it can be a quick fix or whatever it be. You have the header and the footer. Generally, CSS in the header, JavaScript down in the footer. Integrations, as we were talking about, there's the Unsplash. It's kind of a built-in one. Same as Zapier. I have to reconfigure that, AMP and such. And then you have all the other ones. You can do your custom integration, which I think I'll be doing later on with an aggregating site. We'll see. Labs, import, export content and such.
So this is all stuff that they're testing, but they might not add to the main product.
Yeah, they've had. A lot of the stuff has been here for quite a while. I don't know why.
But I guess they could remove it. That's why they've left it in labs.
True. Yeah. Or they could change it, I guess.
Or they could change it. Yeah. Gmail used to do that.
Yeah.
Same sort of
Oh
thing.
yeah. But now that's
Gmail labs.
now
Stopped
it's
yeah.
totally gone, right?
Yeah.
Subscribers, which is a lab, but that's more so because, as I'll mention later on, they're building out Ghost version 3.0, which will have memberships and subscriptions. So until that's fleshed out, that is down here. If you flick that on, which I have, then this tab appears and people can subscribe to your blog and just collect email addresses. But I won't click here because then you will see my mom's email address. We don't want that. So.
See how you've got under managed, you've got pages below posts.
Yeah.
So if you're on your main landing page, that's your live kind of, they're all your different posts. But then there's another bit, is there? That's more.
Yeah, there's the home page, and then there's posts, the blog posts, and then there's pages, which I'll get to shortly. And that's more like if you have like an about page or a contact page, which is like static and not part of your blog role.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you that. I'll go down to the bottom and then I'll come back up from the top. Redirect, so if you're coming from WordPress and your URL structure was different, then you just set up a JSON file with all your redirects, and so that's done within the system. You don't have to do an HT access or whatever. I don't know how you do it. Then there's a routes.yaml file, more technical. I can explain a bit more later with something that I've done. But now, okay, we'll get into the posts. There's also a dark mode button down here, but I always keep it on dark. So you have all your posts here, which you can select by drafts, published, scheduled, etc. By the various authors. This is my blog, so that's just me. By the various tags. The ones with the hashtags in front, that means that it's an internal tag, which I'll explain in a second. And then, by the newest, oldest, recently updated. So I did create a blog post for the first Ghostathon. And basically, let me take this out. You will see, you can input your post title here. So boom, you put it in Framework in Melbourne, and then it'll automatically put your post URL as Framework in Melbourne. But you can change it if you want. You can customize it to second Ghostathon. You have your feature image here. I'll delete that. So you have this little slot here, upload post image, or you can just drag and drop. Desktop Ghostathon Framework, and then it uploads it there. As it's going up, you can change the publication date if you have.
That's cool. Because I've often thought having old
Yeah.
things or seeing the date can be a bad thing. I reckon.
I've disabled the dates on mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For that reason. Yeah.
That would be in your theme. You just don't have the date showing.
Because I don't like when Google shows it to you.
Yeah.
It's like, this is from 2012.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our stuff doesn't need to change, but it kind of looks, like you say, kind of old, right?
Oh
And this is
yeah.
Examining a heart, hasn't changed 200 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great if it's 9 years old, the post.
Yeah. So the tags here you can select from a dropdown or just type it in. With fill in blue is a regular tag that would show up on the page of the post, or that would appear on the post if you have that functionality in your theme, which most do. The one that's just the outline, those are your internal tags. So let's say for some reason you want to keep track of all the posts that you use Twitter embeds.
Yeah,
so you just do this, you just put the hashtag there, and there you go. Excerpt, if you want to use on the front page, you want to show excerpts instead of the first 100 words, which my blog does. You can use that. You can select the authors down here. There's only me, so you can't select any others. Metadata. So when you do DuckDuckGo search or Google, it shows you what it would look like. It grabs your the title from here. But if you want to customize it and change it, you can change it here. You do have to put in a description because it doesn't come with one, so you add one, and it shows you what it looks like down here.
Yeah.
Canonical URL, I'll get to that in a second because you were mentioning something about that a while ago, Lewis.
It's so nice to have that built into the system, the SEO stuff like that.
Sometimes
you want like a nice clean title on the blog, but you like if someone found it in search, you maybe want to make it a bit longer so that someone would know a bit more about what it's about.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks messy on the blog, so that's a great thing because you can have a nice clean title, but then give Google something a bit more detailed.
And then if you want to customize it further, this data here will be dragged into your Twitter card and Facebook card. So
Right.
if you want to further customize it just for Twitter for whatever reason, you can change your title even more. You can
Nice.
even change the picture, change the description, and you can see what it will look like on Twitter,
Yeah.
and you can see what it will look like on Facebook.
Nice.
Well, that's awesome, isn't it? Preview.
Yeah, and then they have customized code injection for just that post. So if you only want the blue underlines instead of red for just that post, but if you have I have a whole bunch of posts which are about podcasts. Then down here you could select custom post types, which my blog doesn't use, but my colleagues' does. So I can show you quick here. On the posts, let's say sure testing. This is they just introduced. I don't know if you've seen on Medium. They have those little bookmark cards. That's a brand new feature.
Okay.
The Ghost. Anyway, so down here you have the templates for custom post types. So authors tags, or if it was podcast, you want like a purple background for podcast posts. Boom, you create a template, and then you just select the template here, and off you go. I guess I'll get back to the canonical URL, because you were saying that you would want to use it for some reason if you moved to Ghost, or you were concerned about something?
So I think sometimes if you can have like posts that you want to make sure the URL, that one particular URL gets all of the like rank stuff from for Google. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that is correct. So sometimes you can have like several posts heading to one URL to feed that URL with. So for me, it's more if you move or change the URL.
Yeah.
That's handy to have.
Okay. Yeah.
So for all the things you showed there, like all those different features in that little sidebar, they're all like separate plugins I have for WordPress.
Yeah.
So
Oh, really?
It's like 3 or 4 plugins. Yeah.
Jeez.
Let's just build into the system there.
So the canonical URL, as there's a traditional means for using it. I use it in a sneaky way with my colleagues' blog. So my colleague, he has his own blog here, publication. These are not my posts. It just we're just building it out. So I'm the only writer right now. So down at the bottom, because he's been published by The Guardian, Vice, Byline Times, Le Monde, a lot of large publications. I got the idea, well, why don't we link to all of your posts, to all of your external posts in your Ghost blog? So I had an idea of how to do it, and Vikas told me, no, that's not a good way to do it. Do it like this. So basically, what Vikas had me do is, let's go to. So I input the URL, the external URL. You see, I created an internal tag, but I called it external because the posts are external. So it's an internal tag called external, and let's bring up one of them. And basically, I upload the picture that the external site uses, change the date to the proper date, the publication, the title of the publication I put in the excerpt, and in the metadata I put its external link here. And then you go down into your coding, and using handlebars, I said, okay, so if this post has the tag external, use the canonical URL. If it doesn't have that external, then use the regular URL. So therefore, when you go to, if you hover over one of these, you can see down at the bottom it's going to Byline Times, or it's going to Vice. So yeah, if I
So it links out to that website, the article on that website.
But then you would say, okay, well, nonetheless, it would show up on the home page in the regular blog feed.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have done, but Vikas, he gave me the coding for what I was mentioning, that roots.yaml file. He gave me the coding for it. It takes out posts with the hash, with the external tag, so it removes those from the homepage.
Okay.
So we did a bit of sneaky stuff because
Yeah.
Ghost is very powerful. You can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you control all the little nooks and crannies. So that was that. I didn't so I created this gallery here. You can either add single images. Here's one of Nick, or galleries, and you can drag and drop. Let me see here. Yeah, you can drag and drop images. If you don't know how to, and basically you just go down here and you start. This is the place where you write. And it works with cards. That was something new to the Gutenberg.
Okay.
So the cards, so if you want an image, you drag and drop the image there. You can write a markdown as well. HTML if you want to insert code. This is the bookmark thing is brand new. If you would add in a divider, it does it by itself. If you want to create a gallery instead of just an image, you just do that and you just drag and drop images, or you select images and it'll create the gallery for you. If you want to put in a YouTube embed or a Twitter embed, you just hit one of those and you copy and paste the actual Twitter URL and boom, there you go. So it's all easy to do. If you're ever confused about what to do, you go to a question mark down here, and that will take you to a page on Ghost's site on how to use the editor, and it shows you everything about how to format the text, how to add in the images and mark down shortcuts, how to upload images, etc. It's all there. Code injection and such. Yeah, if you place where so if you want to bold it or italicize it, or if you want to make it into a heading or not. If you want to add a link, you just boom, hit the link, and you copy and paste the link into there and hit enter. Or if it's a blog quote, just hit quote and boom, there's your quote. You get the little
format for you.
So and then you hit save, and then you get this little preview button down here, and you will see your post here. You see the slug here. It's not the actual live one. So if you want to show this to your fellow frameworkers, hey, I'm building this, can you give me a few thoughts? So you give them this link and they can check it out. If your blog has a password, then you'll have to give them the password as well. But this is publicly, as my blog is right now, it's available to the public. If anybody had this link, they could see this post. So you have the feature image here, as I showed you. You have the one image of Nick. My theme has not been set up for galleries, so it doesn't look very nice. Because I don't use them, and my theme developer, I don't think he's made functionality for galleries, so it doesn't look very good. But this is that quote that I put, so it has a different styling depending on how your theme sets it up. Yep, that's that. That's the editor. And then, so you were asking Gabrielle about posts versus pages.
Pages, yeah.
Pages versus posts. So yeah, so posts, that's where you have all your blog posts, your regular posts. Pages, like I said, down here. So you have, I must have say about me. I have a cheat sheet, so that different coding I put in there. Speaking engagements, I said that I took a few things down. This is one of the ones. Oh, let me reload this because actually bring it up here. Fanfare Chiocalia, the band, on my desktop. I have a page for them. Oh, that's not working up top. No. So yeah, so because it's a page, it does not feature exact same functionality as a post, but it basically just won't appear in your blog roll. Go back to that section.
So you could do like about us and like team for page and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although for team, let's say if you have your writers, staff and contributors, you can, this theme that I use for my blogs, for my colleagues' blog, Nubia, it has created like a custom post page. Remember I was showing you before?
Yeah.
About the custom. So he's created a custom page for staff writers. So once I populate all the other writers on the theme, you will see there'll be a whole bunch of these here.
Nice. Okay.
And that's a page. Yeah. Go back to here. So tags you can get. I just noticed that they redesigned this like last week or something, or last month. So you can switch between your internal and external tags, which is really nice. That's brand new. And basically, yeah, you can see. You can. Oh, yeah, this is new too. You can add if you have it built into your theme, you have a page for all of your tags, and you can have say you have tags for talking about framework designers and coders and whatever it be. You can have an image for each tag, which will be on your theme, and then you can do all that meta title and all that kind of stuff.
So when someone clicks on a tag and they go to the page for that tag and they see it all, you can sell that info for that tag, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, if they have the custom post type for tags.
If they have custom, yeah.
Which
I'm sure a lot of themes probably do. So.
I don't know. I know Nubia does. The creator of that, he puts that functionality into his themes. It's relatively new.
Okay.
Yeah, mine does not. I don't think. No, it does not. It's easy to create yourself though, and they have docs on how to do it on the Ghost site. Staff, there's only me. If you want to add a new staff member, the role here, contributor, author, editor, admin. It's basically, can you write, can you publish, can you edit other posts, can you delete posts, depending on your level of what kind of a user you are.
Yeah.
And then you just input the email address and boom, you send it off and you can add a new staff member. My blog, that's just me. So I guess that's everything on the user interface itself. We did the canonical URL. What other tabs do I have? So this is my colleague's blog. That was the external post. Oh yeah, this is when I moved to Ghost. It was another colleague of mine. He wanted to move from Blogger to another platform. He said, "Any ideas where I should move to?" 2 years ago, I didn't know Ghost at all. I was still on my hand-coded platform, and I did another look out there, and I saw Ghost was still around because there's so many platforms that are kind of here today, gone tomorrow. And I saw Ghost a few years earlier, and I thought, okay, that's nice, but it'll probably be gone. And so I did an updated search due to my colleague here who wanted to move off of Blogger. I noticed Ghost and I said, oh shit, Ghost is awesome, you might want to move to Ghost, but really I knew nothing about Ghost. I wasn't using Ghost, so he, for various reasons, he went with WordPress, which in hindsight makes sense because he could have a lot of help with WordPress. So this is his new WordPress blog. I still think possibly he might want to move to Ghost in the future, so I did, he doesn't know about it, I did a spec blog for him. So, whereas this is what he has right now, this is my version of his blog on Ghost, which, I like it. You can see so he has his, I'm not a big fan of this stuff. You can see he has his fiction pages. He's written a lot of books. This is his book page there, whereas you can see the way that I've set it up. There you go. So, another colleague of mine who doesn't know about this is his blog, his live blog. I kind of adapted it a little bit for how it might look on Ghost. So I've been playing around with Ghost. And I guess that wraps up all that. So now it's the future of Ghost, as far as I understand it, because I'm not an insider or whatever. This is a blog post this is a podcast that John O'Nolan did on the Yo podcast a few months ago. And on this, the host, Rob Hope, the most interesting question I noticed or heard was when John was asked, who do you see as the competition, or who do you see as Ghost's main competition? Medium, WordPress, which is what I would have kind of guessed or assumed. But then John O'Nolan said, no, the competition that we're most interested in is Patreon. And do you know Patreon? Patreon, I can bring up a page here. That's like if you're a musician or a painter or whatever be, and you like to release music, but you have a lot of listeners and you want to get funding so that you can make more music, let's say, then you're going to start up a Patreon page, and they can donate X amount of dollars to your Patreon, to your page to your account every month. So my colleague, the Fees, he was actually one of the first journalists on Patreon, and apparently it was because of him that a lot of journalists followed his route to Patreon.
That's pretty impressive. $1,400 a month.
Yeah. So that's what he gets from his patrons each month.
Wow.
And so he's able to do his investigative journalism work. But what Ghost is planning on doing is, as John was saying, their biggest interest is Patreon, in the sense that they are building in the functionality for memberships and subscriptions, so that something like Patreon would be built into the system where users could join your blog or publication and then fund it.
That would be super useful.
So then there could be, there could be a members only area. I'm not sure how it'll work because it is in beta right now, so you can't actually sign up if so basically, because what they want to do is at present, Google and Facebook are sucking up a lot of the revenue for writing and such. So with Ghost being a self-hosted open source platform, the idea is that they can create member-funded publications really well. So it would be a professional publishing platform for journalism, and then so journalists would be able to monetize their craft, such as my colleague. So my colleague wanted to move to WordPress. I said no, move to Ghost, because this is coming.
Yes.
So I've been building up I manually migrated his blog from Medium, like copy and paste every single post to Ghost, from Medium to Ghost. And as you see right now, this is just a placeholder. We have a link to his Patreon page. Down at the bottom here, another support Instagram intelligence with just like a lore, maybe some just temporary. If you go to any post, I added. I guess you would use a plugin, but I did like a sticky sidebar.
Yes.
I don't know how you do that in WordPress with the plugins.
A lot of themes support that as like an addition extra.
Okay, so I added in that for the scene. So there's a little Patreon button down here, but we would like to move that over to some kind of Ghost thing in the near future.
I use buymeacoffee.com.
Oh yeah.
Which is like similar but a bit simpler. So
Yeah.
people just pay you in coffees, but just like one off.
Yeah.
So someone bought me 3 coffees this morning. It doesn't happen very often though. So.
Yeah. But you bought a muffin instead?
Yeah, exactly. I'm off coffee in a minute, so.
So there's the memberships and subscriptions, but so that's kind of short term. That's hopefully coming soon. Long term, what John O'Nolan would want to. I should mention because some people here were asking why is my colleague interested in getting off of Medium and moving to another platform. As far as he sees it, he likes Medium, that it provided him an active audience to reach, but ultimately he didn't like that he didn't have full control. He didn't have full control over his content, and so he wanted to move away from Medium to something that would have greater flexibility and control over development and growth of the site, as well as control of the development over the site's direction, how to monetize it, and audience engagement, which does not preclude him from cross-posting from his Ghost blog to Medium, but its main site would be on his Ghost blog. So that's what we're doing right now. So John, the last thing here is that long term, what John O'Nolan would want to create is something like Medium. There's that whole network thing.
I was going to say more of a social kind of.
Yeah, but whereas instead of Medium, where they kind of control it all from the center, it's a centralized system. He would want to do something using the ActivityPub specification, which I don't know too much about, but Mastodon, if you know Mastodon, it's like the open source federated version of Twitter.
So there's no one person controls the whole network, right?
Yeah.
They sort of connect to each other, like peer to peer, rather than.
Because WordPress isn't a social thing, is it? WordPress is just a.
No.
In that sense, yeah.
So basically, what he would do is a system that could connect all Ghost blogs together. kind of like Medium, but without, as you were saying, Lewis, without any main
Yeah.
central hub.
Yeah. Because I guess that it would be nice to know if you're like a new blog that you might, get shown to other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the hardest part, right? Is that breaking out of like, you're brand new. How
Yeah.
do you get your first audience? And I think that's probably why a lot of people like Medium, because there's always that like lottery that you might show up as like a recommended post,
Yeah.
and then they'll discover you, which
Yeah.
sounds like what happened to your friend in part. You built an audience on Medium by the sounds of things.
Well, he did. Well, he was published previously on all these
other things, yeah.
Guardian and such,
Yeah.
so it's kind of easier to get them. But he
but
has
that
like
would be a big thing I think
yeah.
that Ghost could add.
Yeah.
So you'd be less sort of on your own little island.
Which you were saying, Gabriel, like you're kind of wondering, how do I start? How do I get an
Yeah.
audience?
How does
Going from like 0 to 1 is like the hardest, worst bit.
So so that could
over here.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not. I think he was saying about a year ago that was something like in the future, like 5 years away. So maybe 4 years away. Who knows? But but yeah, that's that. I think that's. Any other questions or any questions that either of you have?
It's so interesting that it seems so appealing, and yet, it's so unknown. I mean, I feel like it will just take a few, as you said, if it was just tech people talking about it, it will just take a few people to break out from the tech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then
so.
it'll just go gangbusters, you think?
Yeah.
Like,
Twitter kind of felt like this. I was like on Twitter right at the start, and there was like only like when I was on it was like 1,000 people or something. I was like in like the top whatever, because I'd done like 3 tweets or something, and it was all techie people, very similar.
Yeah.
And then I remember Paris Hilton joined Twitter. She was like the first like celebrity to join, and then it just like blew up. And then like every other celebrity was like, oh, like I want more followers than them, and then it's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just one of these
It's
weird
got
things that
potential,
this is like slow burn, and then
And it's just word of mouth, hence I'm.
and they're not marketing, are they? So
Yeah, and so people like me, I guess, do stuff like this just to let other people know. And I think people here, some people, maybe it was you even also asked me, oh, you should work for Ghost. I'm like, no, I'm just letting people
it's
know.
like a cool company though. I'm kind of like attracted to it. I don't know any skills that they
what's
need.
weird is I just did it because I'm doing part-time like study at the moment, and I did a unit last semester, and it was all about we had to start a blog.
Okay.
And she kind of said, oh, there's these sites you could use,
Yeah.
but she kind of brought it down to like WordPress and Blogger, just in
Yeah.
terms of Blogger being super simple, straightforward, and starting out,
Yeah.
WordPress being a bit more professional.
Yeah.
But like, if you could let people know, even like people running those kind of courses
Yeah,
or something, is
Definitely.
you could almost like do what you've just done to us,
Yeah.
to these like educational institutions, and then just having it as another option for people.
Yeah.
I think it's super valuable.
Because I think as like a beginner, Ghost is way more simple. Like WordPress, even when I started to use it, and even now it's complicated. Like I've used it now for 9 years, and I'm still getting confused about it. I can't imagine what's like coming to WordPress with like fresh eyes and starting because it's just there's just too many things you
It's
could do.
almost too webby. There's
like you could do anything, but because of that, you feel like you can't do nothing. It's like paralysis because of all the stuff.
Too many options.
Yeah. Whereas I really like the look of Ghost for that reason.
And then so you mentioned that you have been considering moving your blog to Ghost?
Yes. So I'm working on like a big project with our quiz platform at the moment. But when the main website, geekymedits.com, that's on WordPress, I either want to move to a brand new, like nicer theme on WordPress, which as I was saying before, it's like a big headache, or move completely across platforms, which is probably a bigger nightmare initially because of the transition. But in the long term, might be. So at the minute, I'm sort of still mulling over what I do.
You can break it down into how you do it. It might not seem so
I think that's what I need to do. And like look at all the plugins I use and be like, does Ghost do that? Or can I find like some scripts to do that or whatever?
It's almost like a spring clean, is it? It's
like
and then getting rid of stuff you don't need.
I want it. It looks great. I've got like total like shiny toy syndrome. I'm like, that is
it's like
lovely.
Marie Kondo.
Like it's all fresh and new. My life will change. I'll be a whole new person. And I won't, but it looks lovely. And I want to use it. So I was thinking maybe of starting like a little personal like blog or like just a test site with it, just to kind of play with Ghost. And then maybe on like a $5 DigitalOcean thing. So that I'm not invested much. And then just kind of get familiar with it and watch it grow and add features, and then maybe jump in when I think that there's enough. I'm kind of part of me is a bit waiting to see what happens with the plugins. I know you said they're doing the integrations, but like, I'd be interested to see whether they're just totally ruling out plugins, because we've already talked about the benefits and stuff and the bad sides of it, but I do wonder whether I would like to see some signs that there might be a plugin directory at some point, and developers were like building it, and there was like a bigger marketplace of people selling stuff. Because that's in the middle of WordPress, there's so many developers working on projects around it. You can always find someone, so that's what makes me a little bit anxious for Ghost at the minute. But I think the future, I would definitely like to move to it for sure.
Sounds good. All right, I guess that's it. So
thanks a lot.
Thank you guys, no problem. And I will hit stop.